coronavirus, what actually the coronavirus is and how it spreads. As we know, it's a very infectious disease that spread all over the world now. So this coronavirus is a group of related diseases that spread in the mammals and the birds. First, it was discovered in the 1930s, this coronavirus. 1930s. Later on, but it was found in the mammals, in the birds, but later on it was found in humans also. But not in the 1930s, that time it was found in the 1960s. During the 1960s, it was found in humans. So again, coronavirus is a group of related diseases that spread in the mammals and the birds. There was a disease in 2002 that was called SARS. This coronavirus is similar to the SARS. What SARS? I'll write it here. SARS. S-A-R-S. SARS. This SARS is similar to the coronavirus, or we can say the coronavirus is similar to the SARS. So what SARS? SARS is severe acute respiratory distress syndrome. So this SARS, it was first found in the bat. This virus was first found in bat. After later, it mutated in such a way it infected the other host. And that other host is, I will write it here. First, it was found in the bat. I will write it here. Bat. Later on, it infected, or we can say it mutated in such a way that it infects the other host. Which was the other host? It's a cat, we can say cat-like species. This species, which is similar to the cat, it's called sweat. So I will write it here. Sweat. This animal is called sweat. Later on, in sweat, it also mutated again. Then it transferred in the humans. So this sweat is the intermediate for this host, or we can say this for the virus. Then it was transferred in the humans. I will try to make the sketch of human. So it was transferred in the humans. This SARS was in 2002. So, if we talk about what is the case fatality rate of the SARS during the 2002, first we will see what's the formula for the case fatality rate. Case fatality rate is actually case fatality rate. Fatality rate is equal to number of deaths divided by total number of cases. Number of cases. When this was syndrome, severe acute respiratory distress syndrome, if we see the formula, what was the percentage of the deaths during the 2002 called the SARS syndrome? The case fatality is equal to the number of deaths, total number of the cases. So what we will see, how many cases were at that time and how many deaths were at that time during the SARS. There were 8,000, or we can say 800 cases, 800 deaths. 800 deaths. So cases were 8,000. So case fatality rate is number of deaths, total number of cases multiplied by 100. Multiplied by 100. So we can find the percentage of the death change during the SARS 2002 into 100. So this is the number of deaths, total number of cases into 100. That leads to the 10%. I will write it here. 10%. So if we talk about the SARS, there was the 10% death cases, or we can say death rate, case fatality rates during the 2002. Now going down, we'll talk about this one also. there was other syndrome that was called the MERS. MERS also originates from the bat. Same origination from the bat. I'll write it here. Don't worry, I will write it here. This is bat. And this disease was called MERS. I will make it more highlighted here from the red. MERS. But this MERS was, we will say this MERS was not in the 2002. This MERS was in 2012. That was, we can say, coronavirus is also relatively similar to the MERS. 2012. Okay, what's actually the MERS? MERS is Middle Eastern Respiratory Distress Syndrome. So this virus again mutated in such a way that in fact the other host, what was the other host? That's the intermittent host. That intermittent host was the camel. I'll write it here. Camel. Then from the camel, it gets transferred, it gets mutated in such a way that it infects the other host. Which was the other host? Sam, it was the humans. I will make it red because it is in danger zone. So, from bat mutated in such a way, camel, from camel it gets mutated in the humans. From the humans it spread all over the world in 2012. So we have to find what the case fatality rate during the MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Distress Syndrome. So I will write it here. That time there were 850 deaths. And cases were 2500 multiplied by 100. So this gives the 34%. So number of deaths were 850 and 2,500 were the total number of cases multiplied by the 100. That gives the 34%. Now today, that's called the COVID-19. I'll write it here again. COVID-19. Coronavirus disease 19, which happened in the 2019. Same origin. Same origin, what's the origin? It originates again from the bat. Originates from the bat and mutated in such a way that gets its transfer, or we can say in fact the other host. What was the other host? Other host was a kind of the animal that's called the pangolin. 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 This virus infects this pangolin. From the pangolin forms the intermediate host, and this from the pangolin it transfers to the other host. What's the other host? That's the humans. So I will make it red here. So it infects the other host. What's the other host? That's the humans. From the humans, it spread all over the world. First, it was in China, that spread all over the world. Now it's in, we can see, in whole world. So we will see what the case fatality rate of the COVID-19 now. That was the case fatality. It is number of deaths. The total number of cases into 100. I will write it here. So, case fatality rate of this COVID-19, coronavirus 19. So, number of deaths were 41345. You can calculate it by yourself. And the total number of cases were this, and multiplied by 100. If we see what is the case fatality rate, or we can say that in the percentage, that's 4.92%. This was about the formation, origin of the coronavirus. Now we're going to talk about spreadability of the coronavirus. I'll wrap this. Now we're going to talk about what's the degree of spreadability of the coronavirus. Means one person, how many 1% can spread to the other person? What is the ratio about it? So this is called R naught. R naught. What's actually R naught? It's called the reproductive ratio. Reproductive ratio. Or in other words, we can say it's called the degree of spreadability. Spreadability means R naught means that if one person is infected by the coronavirus, how many percent it can infect more. So that's called the R naught. It's also called reproductive ratio of the degree of spreadability. So we'll talk about, for example, here is one person. This is a one person. Okay. This 1% which has the coronavirus, which is infected from the coronavirus, it can affect or it can infect the 3 more persons. So if we talk about what's R naught for the coronavirus, it varies from the 2 to 20. Mostly rather it's 3. So we write here what's the R naught for the coronavirus. It is 3. 3 means 1% can infect 3 persons. So 3% can infect, we'll write it here, 3% can infect 1%, 3. This 1% also 3. This 1% also 3. So if we talk about this R naught, 1% spreads this degree of spreadability of the coronavirus. It can infect the 3%, but 1 also spreads the 3. 1 also spreads. So this was 1. There were 3. This was 3, 6. That was 9. Okay. So if we see the graph of the coronavirus, that's increasing. We can say exponential form of the graph. So I will make to here the graph for the coronavirus. R naught degree of spreadability. Is this graph is decreasing? No, it's not decreasing the graph because 1%, 3 and 3 makes the 9. So 9 makes 27. So there is a rising form and the increasing form of the R naught. So I will make it up. The graph is like this because this graph shows that there is the increasing form of this R naught or infected person. So how can we decrease the R naught? How can we fall down this R naught? How can we protect from the spreadability of the R naught? So we have to not go in the crowds. For example, if there is huge crowd, so we have not grown in the crowd because if one person is infected there, that can spread to the 3 and 3 can, whole crowd will be infected. And we have to wash our hands. And mostly when we wash our hands, maybe there will be a virus that can be rushed off from the hands. And second, if we are going to, what's the other, how can we drop this R naught? We have to not touch the T-zone. What's T-zone? Mostly the virus attacks over the T-zone, that's eyes, nose and mouth. So we have to not touch over the T-zones. This is like the T. So we should protect from the T-zone to touching the T-zone. So this is the way through which we can drop the R naught. And what's the other method? How can we drop this R naught? We should stay in homes. That's we can say best precaution for the coronavirus, because when we stay in the home there is less risk of spreadability and there is the fall down, we can say dropping of the R naught. This is the main precautions. How can we drop the R naught? So we should not go in the crowds, in the large crowds. That's a risk for us and that can increase our R naught. In contrast to the coronavirus, there is another disease that's called the influenza. That influenza What's the R naught for the influenza? It's also the group of disease. R naught for the influenza, that only one person can infect only one person, only a single person. For example, this is one person. He's got the we can say infected from the influenza. It can spread. It can infect only one person. Only one person. This only one can infect other one. Other one. So R naught for this, what's the R naught for this? It's only that one person can infect only one person. So if we see the graph for this influenza, R naught, that one person infects only one person. That's a straight line for this. So the graph should be like this, straight. This was about the influenza. In contrast, the coronavirus. I will talk about what's the series interval. Series interval. Series interval. I'll explain what is the series interval for the coronavirus. For example, here is patient X. This is a patient X. And this patient, for example, if you are talking about here is D0. 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 From D0, their symptom starts. For the virus, for the coronavirus, there is the symptom start. I will make it very concise here. Symptom start. Until from the D0 till to the D14. D14. D14 the symptoms stop. And the D0 symptoms start, and the D14 it gets stopped. Symptoms stop. So don't be confused. SSC SAM for this. This is symptom start. This is symptom stop. So there's other person. For example, this is X1 person. X1 person, or we can say X1 patient. For example, there was other patient. For example, X2 patient. X2 patient. From this X2 patient, I will make it here. There is a D2. For example, there is D2. D2. For example, this is D2 for this one patient 1, but from this patient second, this is the D1st, or we can say D0 or D0. D0. So in second person, their symptoms start. Symptoms start until to the D14. D14. Symptoms stop. I'm just wants to make you more clear about the series interval. What the series interval is. So this D0 and D14, D0, was the series interval for this. From D0, or it's D2 for this patient 1. There is a gap. For example, if we join this and join this, there is a gap between patient 1 and patient 2. What's the gap? Gap is this. This gap. This gap is called series interval. I will make it here, series interval. Series interval. What's actual series interval? It is the onset of the symptoms in patient 1. In patient 1 to the onset of the symptoms in patient 2. Difference between these two. For example, if patient 1 has got the symptoms, in how many days these symptoms can be shown in second person? That's also we call it series interval. So what's the series interval for the coronavirus? So we'll describe it. Some ask it is 5, some ask it is 7.5, so we will make it 5 to 7.5. So I'll write it 7.5, this is the most accurate. So this percent series interval, I will make it from a different color so that you will not confuse it. From patient to this patient, there is a series interval 7.5. Thank God. There is a huge gap between this, so series interval is large. If series interval is, we can say clear, we can say near to each, it's very risk. So the series interval for the coronavirus is very, and we think we can say in the gap velocity. So in 7.5, and from this also it takes 7.5 days. 7.5 days. Means symptoms starts in 7.5 days in, then later from the 7.5 days also symptoms starts in this, and later in this we can say 9, the 7.5 day the symptom starts. So between the coronavirus, that's good, that series interval is little large, so there's a reduce, we can say the spreadability of this disease in comparison to this influenza. If you talk about the influenza, there is the series interval that is 2.5, more dangerous. 2.5 days means after 2.5 days the symptoms start, infect the other person, and after 2.5 days from the other person spread to the other person because symptoms start, but there is huge gap. Huge the gap is, less the risk is. So in this coronavirus there is 7.5 days, we can say series interval, but in influenza there is 2.5 days. 2.5 days, if there is less, that risk is more. This is less, the risk is more. This is large, we can say risk is little bit or very less. So this was about the influenza in contrast with the coronavirus. This virus, there are the two ways to infect the host. One is fecal oral route. And second is respiratory droplets. Respiratory droplets. So this virus allows to attach the alveoli. First I will make it out here. Someone coughs or sneezes, so through the respiratory droplets this virus can be infected the other host. So I will make it here. This is our respiratory system. I'll make it roughly here. At last, I will make it in simple language, rough language. So, this virus allows to attach the special structure in the respiratory system that's called the alveoli. Alveoli is the ballon-like structure in the respiratory system. So in alveoli, this virus gets attached through the respiratory droplets. It enters in our respiratory system. Then it goes in and down, and it allows to attach the alveolar here. So I will zoom it one alveoli here. I will zoom this alveoli here, so that you will not confuse in this. I should make it from the different color. Okay, don't worry. This is the alveoli. There are the special cells in the alveoli. For example, these are the cells here. Most, we can say, very important cells in the alveoli. That is the pneumocytes. type 1 pneumocyte and type 2 pneumocytes. I will make it here. I will make it one pneumocyte here, and this is one. And for example, there are other. I will make it different color. There are pneumocytes, cells of the alveoli, type 1 pneumocyte and type 2 pneumocytes. So, for example, this is a type 2 pneumocyte. Type 2 pneumocyte. Type 2 pneumocyte, and this is a type 1 pneumocyte. Type 1 pneumocyte. We have the special cells in our alveoli in the bronchial. In this alveoli helps for the gases exchange. This type 1 pneumocyte helps in gases exchange. Type 1 pneumocyte, gas exchange. And if you talk about type 2 pneumocyte, it releases substance that's called surfactant. Surfactant. What does it surfactant do? This surfactant prevents from the collapsing of the alveoli, and it reduces the surface tension in the alveoli. So this, when this we can say virus goes down here, and reaches here are the pneumocytes, type 2 pneumocytes. I will enlarge this type 2 pneumocyte here, so that you will not confuse in this. Okay, I'm enlarging this type 2 pneumocyte here. Okay, this virus has special type of proteins that's called spike proteins. For example, I will make it a one virus here. This is the virus. This virus has special type of protein molecules, protein spikes. These are the spike proteins around the virus. And how this virus gets enter in a pneumocyte and damage the pneumocytes. First, it has this red color pneumocyte, this spike, or you can say protein. They are the special, we can say, receptor on the pneumocytes. That receptor is called angiotensin. I will write it here. Don't be confused. First, I will make the receptor for this. So that the virus can put its steps on this receptor. What this receptor is actually? This receptor is called angiotensin converting enzyme receptor 2. So angiotensin converting enzyme receptor 2, when it binds, which spike binds on this receptor? These are the special spikes. For example, this spike also. So there is the special spike. This spike is called S spike. I will make it more clear. This is called S spike. When the S spike binds with the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, there's enzyme, this material of the virus that is enclosed into the pneumocyte, in the type 2 pneumocytes. So the RNA, there's a presence of the RNA in this virus that is thrown into this pneumocyte, type 2 pneumocytes. So I will make it here. This is the RNA of the virus. So it takes this RNA takes the advantage of the ribosomes here. They have the ribosomes here. I will make it ribosomes here. For example, this is a ribosome here. Host cells, ribosomes, it uses the ribosomes of host cell. I'll make it from different color because it is dangerous, so I will make it red. So it uses the ribosome of the host cell, this RNA. From the RNA, it uses the ribosomes, when it uses the ribosomes, there is formation of the mRNA, means translation takes place. Here is formation of, we can say translation is, or we can say translation. There is formation of the special proteins. I don't go into deep in. So there are forms of the special proteins like this. Okay. This is enzyme present within the pneumocytes. That enzyme is called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. So I will make it here from different color. This is, for example, RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. What did it do? This RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, it takes this RNA and makes many copies of this RNA. When it forms the many copies of RNA, so these copies are here. There is formation of many copies of RNA, and there is these proteins, and there are also present these spikes here within this. These spikes are here. I will make it also here. These spikes. When all these, from the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, these chains are many RNA copies are found through this enzyme, and there is these protein molecules. These all gets inside this. This is formed the spikes here, here, and this RNA gets enter in this. We can say in the capsule or in this protein. Then it forms like this. We can say structure like this and like this. I'll make it here. This. These spikes here. Then this virus, what happens with this virus? It is thrown out. It is thrown out. When it is thrown out, what it done after that? I'll make it spikes. When it is thrown out, it remains inside this. When, or we can say when it's thrown out, it damages the neuron. This we can say pneumocyte, type 2 pneumocytes. When the type 2 pneumocytes are damaged, they secrete chemical mediators. We can say inflammatory chemical mediators. When these pneumocytes are, we can say damaged. For example, if someone beats us, we call our friends. In that same situation here, when this is destroyed by this virus. So this secretes as some type of the signals. What are the signals? That's called inflammatory chemical mediators. Chemical mediator. What does it do? What are the chemical mediators? Or it's also called cytokines. Or cytokines that are actually the inflammatory chemical mediator. Or we can say chemical molecules that can spread in the bloodstream, that we can say alter or call other type of the cells here. So these are also called cytokines. It also releases the cytokines. Cytokines. Which cytokines? For example, there are the 50 kind of the cytokines, and among these cytokines we'll describe here some cytokines. One is interleukin 1 and interleukin 6 and tumor necrotic factor alpha. These three cytokines are released. What is cytokine? They are the chemical messengers. We can say chemical calling messenger. For example, if this cell is damaged, it will call other cells. Please help me out. I'm in distress from, difficulties. Please protect me from this. So they release the cytokines. Interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrotic factor alpha. When these substances are released, These substance, for example, this was virus here, dangerous virus, I will make it dangerous like this. So this is virus. When this was, I'll make it here. We are talking about type 2 pneumocytes. There is secretion of the inflammatory of cytokines. Which cytokines? Interleukin 1, interleukin 6, tumor necrotic factor alpha. So these we'll call the other type of the cells. What are the other type of the cells? That's called the macrophages. I'll make it here, the macrophages. For example, this is macrophage. What the macrophages do? First of all, when the macrophages come at this site, they also secrete the interleukin 1, interleukin 6, tumor necrotic factor alpha. We know around this alveoli there is blood supply. This is blood supply around the alveoli. So these interleukin 1s, interleukin 6, tumor necrotic factor, they are the cells around these our capillaries. These cells, when the interleukin 1 is steps its foot on these cells, we can say endothelial cells. This is the shrinkage of the endothelial cells. What's meant by shrinkage? For example, this is endothelial cell. It gets shrinks. There is increase in the permeability. The fluid inside the vessel, for example, there is a fluid. This fluid, or we can say fluid in the vessel, that gets rushed out around this side. That is leaking around there, we can see, from the capillary. So when the more fluid is oozing, or we can say through the permeability is increased, when there is endothelial gaps takes place, so the fluid remains here. So fluid remains here. When fluid remains here, so there is difficulty to alveoli to expand more. So some fluid, we can say goes into this alveoli. So I will make it here. So this some fluid goes in this. When some fluid goes into this, so when we take the breath, when we take the oxygen, so there is a fluid present within the alveoli. In our alveoli there is fluid present. So there is difficulty. When there is fluid present, so there is difficulty in the breathing. So we can't breathe. Why we can't breathe? There is a fluid present that hindrances or the breathing. So there needs much more energy in the breathing. So working of the breathing will be increases. So first symptom in this, that the working of the breathing will be increasing due to the accumulation of the fluid within the alveoli. So I will write here the working of the breathing will increase it. Working of breathing is increased. First thing in this. So after that, when the working of the breathing is increases, that's a problem. So more energy needs to work to take the breathing. At last, we can see when there is accumulation of fluid within this, there will be, we can say, collapsing of the alveoli. What actually alveoli looks like that? Alveoli should be like this, because of the accumulation of fluid within this, and there is working of the breathing, so there may be shortness of breath. So there will be more secretion of the cytokines, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, tumor necrotic factor. They will be more abundantly produced. When they will be more abundantly produced, they will call other kind of the cells. This macrophage, don't get confused with the macrophage. Macrophage is a phagocytotic cell. When there is injury or the bacteria, it phagocytes, it eats up that kind of the cell or the bacteria or the infected cell. So interleukin 1 and interleukin 6, they call other kind of the cells. We can say other kind of the cells. What are the other kinds of the cells? This alveoli is collapsing like this. they call other kind of the cells. Other kind of the cells is the neutrophils. Neutrophils is the, we can say, type of the white blood cells. This is the, for example, neutrophils. I will make it different. For example, this is neutrophil. So that from the sketch you will get more pleasure from this. For example, this neutrophil. What does it neutrophil do on the side of this? It produces a kind of oxygen species that's called ROS. That's a reactive oxygen species. This neutrophil, I will write it here. This is called a neutrophil type of white blood cell. Neutrophil. This neutrophil produces a ROS. ROS. What's ROS? It's a reactive oxygen species. That's very dangerous. This reactive oxygen species is very dangerous. These are the signaling molecules that call these neutrophils. Help us out. Here is some problem. Here is some problem. This neutrophil is in the danger side. Neutrophil thinks there's some huge problem. So I will produce something that will damage this virus and damage. If it damages the virus also, it damages its own cells also. What is the own cell here? That's called the type 1 pneumocytes. We know. What is the function of the type 1 pneumocyte? That is the gas exchange. So if from the ROS reactive oxygen species, if it damages to this type 1 pneumocyte, what will happen to the type 1 pneumocyte? If they are damaged, so gas exchange will not be occur. If there will not be the gas exchange, what will happen? Gas exchange, there will be less breathing. That person thinks that I'm going to die. There's a main reason that there's the shortness of the breathing because of the type 1 pneumocytes are going, we can say, disturbed, or they are getting the collapsed or degraded by the reactive oxygen species. So these type 1 pneumocytes are degraded, and there is no, we can say, no or very impaired gas exchange within the type 1 pneumocytes. So these interleukin-1, interleukin-6, they also go in the central nervous system. I will make it here, central nervous system. This is our central nervous system. There is one structure that's called the hypothalamus that is here on this side. Can anyone tell me what's the size of the hypothalamus? It's actually around the knee, size of around the knee. From the bloodstream, there's your bloodstream. From the bloodstream, these interleukin-1, interleukin-6, tumor necrotic factor through bloodstream. For example, we will connect the bloodstream here. For example, this is bloodstream. For example, these interleukin-1 and interleukin-6, they go to the hypothalamus, and vary its thermostat. When it varies, there is the secretion of some prostaglandins. What are the prostaglandins? PGE2 is released. When there is, we can see, interleukin-1 and interleukin-6 disturbs this hypothalamus, there is a secretion of the prostaglandins. That's the PGE2. PGE2, prostaglandin E2. That prostaglandin E2 is, we can say, pyrogen. It helps increase in the temperature. When it is released, then there is the, we can see, the thermostat rate is, we can say, disturbed. When it is disturbed, there is increase in the temperature. Increase in temperature. When there is increase in temperature, we call it, there's a fever. So we call it there's fever. So fever is the symptom of the coronavirus. So fever, when the PGE2 releases, these PGE2, we can say, controls the thermostat here, and there is increase in the temperature through the PGE2, and from the PGE2, this leads to fever, and fever is the symptom of the coronavirus. So if we talk about, and there are some vessels, or we can say blood vessels. For this one blood vessel, I will make one blood vessel here. So that you will not confuse it, I will make it here. For example, this is our heart. For example, this is our circulatory system. Okay, in the circulatory system, when these interleukins, cytokines are released, there are special cells here. We know the cells are called the endothelial cells. Endothelial cells that are around our capillaries. This is how it pumps, from the left ventricle pumps, and for the system circulation, the blood goes in all over the vessels. So when the interleukin, tumor necrotic factor alpha goes in over these vessels, there is again formation of the interendothelial gates. When there is interendothelial gates, permeability takes place. When permeability takes place, we can say fluid is oozing. Fluid is running out of our circulatory system. When there is less fluid or less blood in our circulatory system, this leads the shock. What kind of the shock it leads? That's called septic shock. So this can lead septic shock. Septic shock. When blood, or we can say fluid, is oozing, so this leads the septic shock, means there is the hypoxemia, that the oxygen supply to the, there is no oxygen to the tissues, that will be lead to the epitus or necros. So this was ever the septic shock takes place through the interleukins or cytokines. When there is permeability takes place through the endothelial gates are produced, that the fluid is oozing from the capillaries, that the patient became hypotensive. That patient became hypotensive. I'll write it here. Hypotensive. Hypotensive. Okay. So now we will see what are the tests done for the coronavirus. First of all, I forgot that incubation period of the coronavirus is, some asking there's a 4 days, some asking 14 days. So incubation period for the coronavirus is 4 to 14 days. So there are the special tests. How can we detect the coronavirus? First test is RT-PCR test. That's RT-PCR. There's a special test for this, but this test takes much time. It takes time. And there is also other test for this to detect whether is the coronavirus patient or not. So there is other test that's called the NAT. N-A-T. N-A-A-T. What stands for NAT? That's NAT stands for nucleic acid. Nucleic acid amplification test. Amplification test. Through this NAT, we can find the coronavirus is present within the patient or not. There is another test, that's CT test, as we all know, CT test. CT. How can we see this CT, for example, is the best test. It gives 95% of the coronavirus detection. So, for example, this is, you can see, this is our X-ray from the X-ray. If we see from X-ray, we see here small face. These beats are called crazy. CRE is that by crazy paving packs. And we see the consolidation. What's consolidation? That consolidation is actually when the neutrophils, macrophages, and interleukins, these all this fluid when come into the alveoli, they get, we can say, in the center, and there is for the consolidation of this. We can take this structure. So this that we can say this forms in the consolidation also, because it's very in the dark in color. It shows consolidation. When two things are, we can say, detect from this, the CT scan, that's the crazy pairing peaks and consolidation. Well, we can say that this is the coronavirus positive case, or we can say coronavirus patient. So this is the CT scan. We also call this, and also we can do the ultrasound. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 ultrasound. What's ultrasound? From the ultrasound, what we detect? For example, we can also detect whether this patient is corona positive or negative from the ultrasound also. If we see here some lines, what's actually these lines is? Lines is actually the pleural line thickening. If we see pleural line thickening here, we can see here there's a pleural line thickening. Pleural line thickening. During ultrasound, if we see these pleural line thickenings, then we can also see this patient is coronavirus patient. So this was all about the coronavirus, and hope you understand well. Thanks.